In this video, we'll be ranking the albums by Megadeth. I will be including the new one, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead. For this ranking, I did something different. I gave each song on every album a score from like 6 to 10. I then took the average and I used that as the basis for my ranking. So I will be giving the scores along with the ranking. I'll be mentioning like the best songs, some lineup changes, maybe some personal stories I have listening with the album, and I'll just try to go through these very quickly. So at number 16, I have Super Collider. This one was released in 2013. My score is 6.54. So this is the album that usually ends up at the bottom of everyone's list. I used to listen to this one often when it came out. It's not bad. It's just, I would say, the worst of their discography. The lineup features the two Daves, Chris Broderick on guitar and Sean Drover on drums. Best songs are Kingmaker and the Thin Lizzy cover called Sweat. The rest are just okay, so that's why I have it at the bottom. At number 15, I have The System Has Failed from 2004. So my score is 6.87. Now, this album was intended to be a Dave Mustaine solo album, so the band is basically Dave Mustaine plus a few session members playing the other instruments. This one was okay. I mean, it's heavy, it's thrashy. I think it's just it's low because it just doesn't have a lot of highs and not really nothing that stands out. I think my favorite song is The Scorpion, but otherwise it's kind of forgettable. The song of Mice and Men is pretty good, and there's like a strange song at the end called Shadow of Death, which I actually like a lot, but otherwise the album's just okay. That's why it's towards the bottom. At number 14, I have 13 from 2011. So my score for this was 7.07. Now, this album has a very heavy sound. It's classic Megadeth, but for some reason the songs are just not there. And for that reason, it just falls short. And that's why I have it low on this list. So this is the first album with David Ellefson since The World Needs a Hero. It also has Chris Broderick and Sean Drover. The best songs, Public Enemy No. 1 and We the People. There's a song called Guns, Drugs, and Money. That's kind of cringe. The rest is kind of forgettable, and that's pretty much all I can say about this. At number 13, Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good, released in 1985, and my score is a 7.125. Now, people are going to say this is very low, but I never really got into this album. I actually bought it back in the late 80s. I know it's fast, it's heavy, and, you know, I feel just the other albums are just better, the ones that were released around this time period. It's their debut album. You know, Dave Mustaine was fired from Metallica. He was very angry, and, you know, he just wanted to make just something very, just like, kind of like to get back at them. So we got like David Ellefson on bass, Chris Poland on guitars, and Gar Samuelson on drums. Best songs are Mechanics, which is kind of Dave's version of the Four Horsemen. Skull Beneath the Skin is very good. But I think the album gets brought down a little by that cover song, These Boots. It's very heavy, thrashy, but I just like the other ones a lot better. So that's why I have it low. At number 12, The World Needs a Hero from 2001. My score is at 7.25. Last, the studio albums feature drummer Jimmy DeGrasso, and the only one with Al Pitrelli on lead guitar. There's some very good songs here and some very bad songs. So the best songs are Disconnect, The World Needs a Hero, Motorcycle, and Dread in the Future of Mine. I think like those are like the four songs which like pushed this album above Killing Is My Business, like just by a little bit, just because of those songs. But the rest of the songs are kind of forgettable, and there's some bad songs. Like you have When, which is a very long song. It's like a rehashing of Diamond's Head's Am I Evil? You got Return to Hangar, which is kind of unnecessary. You know, sequel songs usually don't work very well. You got 1,000 Times Goodbye. It's just very cringe. But this album is just very hit and miss. At number 11, I have Risk from 1999. My score is a 7.75. So this is an album. It's usually ranked very low. You know, people rank this like usually towards the bottom, but for me, it's higher because I just really like this album. It's different. It's not thrash. It's not really metal. It's more alternative rock. But the songs are just very good. They're like doing some different stuff. The last album with Marty Friedman. First album with Jimmy DeGrasso. My favorite songs are Insomnia, Prince of Darkness, and Crush 'Em. The album gets brought down a little with like Breadline and Wanderlust. Those ones are not great. I think like without those two songs, this would have been like much higher. But the rest of the songs are just very good. Ecstasy 7, Time the Beginning, Time the End. Lots of very good stuff here, just brought down by a few songs. At number 10, Cryptic Writings, released in 1997. My score for this was a 7.8. This is the album with the classic lineup. You got Dave Mustaine, Dave Ellefson, Marty Friedman, and Nick Menza. You know, this lineup would be releasing a few more albums that are going to be like up a lot higher. But the last album with Nick Menza and just the last of that classic lineup, it's very good. A little more commercial sounding. That's why it's ranked like a little lower. But you got some really good stuff here. The song Trust, that's like a very good song. I like Almost Honest. That one's good. She Wolf, A Secret Place. I like those. The rest of the songs are good, not great. That's why this one is down a little, but still a very good album. And number 9 is United Abominations, released in 2007. And my score for this was a 7.9. So the album has Dave Mustaine, Glenn Drover, James Lomenzo, and Sean Drover. Just very good. Probably my favorite song, Washington Is Next. Just one of their better like later day songs. They have a remake of A Tout Le Monde. This one has Christina Scabbia from Lacuna Coil, and I actually like this version a lot better than the original one. Otherwise, the album is just very good. It doesn't have like a lot of highs other than the two songs I just mentioned, but it also doesn't have like a lot of lows, so it's just very consistent. My favorite deep cut is Gears of War. I love that one. And just check that song out if you don't like listen to anything else. Otherwise, just very good. At number 8, So Far, So Good, So What, from 1988. My score for this is an 8. So this is the band's only album with drummer Chuck Baylor and guitarist Jeff Young. They were both fired from the band in early 1989. Just very good. Not as good as a few of the others from this particular time period, but this is the first Megadeth album that I ever bought. Just very good. The cover of Anarchy in the UK is just very fun. Really good deep cut is Mary Jane, and one of my favorite Megadeth songs of all time, In My Darkest Hour. So kind of a short album, but just very good. At number 7, I have Dystopia from 2016. My score for this is an 8.18. A very good album, an improvement over the last few, and I think they have like this new lineup with Kiko Loriero and Chris Adler on drums, so that really made a difference. I think on this album they're kind of going for that like Rust in Peace type of sound, a little more of that like technical thrash, but it's just great. We got The Threat Is Real, Dystopia, Fatal Illusion, all great songs. Post-American World, that's another really good one. I like Poisonous Shadows. That one's like a little slower, a little more atmospheric. You have an instrumental called Conquer or Die. A few songs towards the end get a little weaker, but overall a very solid album. At number 6, I have the new one, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead from 2022. And my score is an 8.25. So I did a full review of this, but let me just mention real quick. Dave Ellefson gets fired. Bass parts re-recorded by Steve DiGiorgio. Kiko on guitar, and a new drummer, Dirk Verburen. Best songs, Dogs Up Chernobyl, Night Stalkers, Mission to Mars, and We'll Be Back. And all the songs are really great. I think the ones that bring it down a little bit are Celebutante and Killing Time, but the rest of the album is very solid. At number 5, Euthanasia from 1994. My score for this is an 8.3. So I bought this album when it came out back in 1994. I didn't like this album. You know, 2 years ago I did a Megadeth ranking, just when I started my channel, like one of my first videos. And this one I also had very low, but it's an album that I kind of started to listen to it more often. I started to get into it, and I just like it a lot more than I did in the past. It's just very good. So this has that classic lineup. You got Dave, Marty, and Nick. An album's not as heavy as the others, but it's just a great album. Best songs, Train of Consequences, Addicted to the Chaos. The original, A Tout Le Monde, Elysian Fields. You got Family Tree, that's a really dark song. The final song, Victory, they kind of drop a lot of like song titles in their lyrics. A little cheesy, but still a very good song. So this is a solid album. Not as heavy as the others, but just very good. At number 4, I have Peace Sells, But Who's Buying, released in 1986. My score for this is a 3.75. It's a great album. You got the two Daves, Gar Samuelson and Chris Poland. They were actually both fired after the album was recorded. An album I used to listen to all the time. I remember the music video for Peace Sells. The album is solid. I think the one song that brings it down is I Ain't Superstitious. But other than that, I think like without that song, this probably would have been ranked maybe like 2 or 3. But anyway, best songs, Wake Up Dead, Peace Sells, Devil's Islands. Nothing much more to say about this. Just a great album. And number 3, this one might be a surprise. I have Endgame from 2009. My score is an 8.54. Album was produced by Dave Mustaine and Andy Sneap. So that Andy Sneap production, you know, that really comes out in this album. First album with guitarist Chris Broderick. Glenn Drover left the band in 2008. The last studio album with bass player James Lomenzo. And original bass player Dave Ellefson rejoined the band several months afterwards. Actually, I think James Lomenzo is the current bassist, so correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But anyway, first time I listened to this album, I was actually watching these conspiracy videos on YouTube, and I saw like this fan-made music video of the title track Endgame, and they were like showing all these images of like FEMA boxes and these like camps and, you know, all that stuff that they're talking about in the song. So that kind of attracted me to check out this album. It's really good. We have great songs. This Day We Fight, 44 minutes. Even a song called The Hardest Part of Letting Go, Seal with a Kiss. Usually like this type of Megadeth song I think is kind of cheesy, but this one is actually like very good. So I think this is a solid album overall. And number 2 is going to be the biggest surprise I have in this video, and that's Rust in Peace from 1990. My score is a solid 9. It's always been my favorite for a long time, but I listened to it again. You know, I gave all the songs a rating, and it just fell short by a little bit. Then we got like some of their best songs ever, like Holy War's The Punishment Due. You know, that was like a 10 out of 10 song, one of the best thrash songs ever. You got Hangar 18, that was another 10 out of 10. But I think like the song like Dawn Patrol like brought the score down a little bit. But it does have that best lineup, Dave, Marty, Nick. It's just awesome. But there's one album that I enjoyed a little more, and it just beat it out by just like one like decimal point or whatever you call it. And my number 1 is Countdown to Extinction from 1992, and my score is a 9.1. It's just the second album, that classic lineup of Dave, Marty, Nick. Just a little better than Rust in Peace. I think it's just a little more accessible. The songs are just all good. That's why. Many people call this like their black album. Just everything's great. There aren't any songs that bring it down. My favorite songs, Countdown to Extinction, Sweating Bullets, Skin of My Teeth, Symphony of Destruction, Captive Honor. I really love that one. Great deep cut. And it's a great album, and it just beat out Rust in Peace by just a little. So that's all. Let me know in the comments. You can give me your ranking of the Megadeth albums. What would you like to change in my ranking? And that is all. You know, I did a few. I have a full review of the new one. You want to check that out? So that's on my channel. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one.